I think it's really good on this feast of the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary that we can reflect a little bit on Our Lady's place in our faith. And for me, you can really say that Our Lady is the first disciple, the first missionary, the first person who told others about the Lord. And you think of her example, I mean, her generous yes at the Annunciation, yes to God's will. You think of that she not only listened to God, but she directed others to listen to him. Remember at the wedding feast of Cana, she says to the stewards, do whatever he tells you, and we need to do whatever he tells us. And then you have at the foot of the cross, when all of Jesus' disciples had run, there is Our Lady witnessing what must have been a terrible sight for her. What courage and bravery to do that. Maybe that's an example to us that we need to be courageous and brave in our faith. And then when you think about at the Pentecost, Our Lady there at prayer in the upper room with the other disciples, a model of prayer for us, that we need to pray even when we don't really know what's going to happen in our lives. Perhaps especially then we need to keep praying, and Our Lady teaches that very much to us. And at the foot of the cross, Jesus says to St. John says, behold your mother, and says to Our Lady, behold your son. And Pope Francis in the World Youth Day, he said, Mary isn't just Jesus' mum, she's our mum too. She's everybody's mother. And that's a really lovely thing. And what St. John does is he makes room for her in his home. And that's the idea. I think we ought to make room for Our Lady in the home of our hearts. And how do you do that, practically speaking? How do you bring Mary into the centre of your faith and give her room in your home? Well, for me, actually, one thing I do every morning, some of you know this already, I go for a walk along the seafront in Sidmouth. What a beautiful, beautiful place. And I love walking. And for me, the rosary is the most amazing accompaniment to walking. It makes my walk a spiritual journey. It makes it a meditation, and the kind of repetitive nature of the rosary and the repetitive nature of the footprints, it's a beautiful way to start the day in prayer and to bring the Lord into the centre of my life. And I suppose that's in that way I'm following Our Lady's example, to bring the Lord into the centre of our life, and she, being a woman of prayer, is an example to me of that. So the rosary is really, really helpful. And if you're not aware of what the rosary is, do have a look it up on the web and find out, because it could be a really helpful part to your prayer life. The other side, so is prayer, and the other side for me is Our Lady's generosity to God's will, her yes to at the Annunciation, her do with me what you will. And I think as Christians, that's something we ought to all be able to at least attempt. We may not be very good at it, but to attempt to do that, to follow Our Lady's example, that the Lord has plans for all of us. He calls and talks to us every moment of our lives, and it's up to us to respond generously and to say yes to the will of the Lord. So on this feast day, may our prayer life be inspired by Our Lady, and may also our commitment to God's will be inspired by Our Lady. And we can ask for her prayers, that for her help, that we may do that. We may follow her example ever more faithfully. So happy feast day to you. God bless you, and take care. Bye-bye.